A bit of West Ham news and gossip for you today. Actually, I've got to say there's a lot more gossip, a lot more rumours than there is actual news. But we do have some in this video, and we do actually have some quite interesting gossip. I want to talk about Xabi Alonso, I want to talk about Will Still, some Nathan stuff at the end of the video as well, if we can squeeze that in. There is a little bit of transfer tittle-tattle. I'll get that out the way first, because I don't believe a lot of it. Well, actually, we're linked with 3 players, and I sort of disbelieve 2/3 of it. The first one is someone very famous player. I say famous, he's the future. He's meant to be the best young up-and-coming centre-back in Europe. Well, I've seen him tagged as such. Goncalo, Inacio. He plays for Sporting Lisbon. Now, apparently West Ham had scouts out in the Sporting Lisbon Benfica game, Benfica won 2-1, to watch not only Inacio but also 2 other players as well. The irony is that Inacio actually got sent off for his second yellow card quite early in the second half. Not that you really need to scout this guy. Everybody knows about him. I think the report suggested that there are lots of scouts there from Liverpool and Man United and Arsenal and Real Madrid and all that type of stuff. There is a suggestion, as I just researched this stuff before doing the news roundup, that Manchester United have a option on him to buy him first. Look, £50 million, which is probably what he'll cost. You know, absolutely forget it. There's no way West Ham are going to go and do that at all. One of the other defenders in the game was also of interest, apparently, to West Ham. Now, his name's Antonio Silva, but don't be alarmed when I say Antonio. He really is a centre-back. I think even David Moyes couldn't transform him from a centre-back into a striker. Might even be more prolific than Antonio. You don't know. But he's actually, well, I looked at a little bit of footage, just did a little bit of research on him. Strong right-sided centre-half. Remind you of anyone? Yeah, I looked at it and I thought, we don't need this guy. We've got Mavropanos there, who's currently not getting in the first team for the big matches anyway. So why would we go and buy this guy? So I think there's as far as that one was concerned. The final one was a guy called Joao Neves from Benfica, midfielder. I don't know. Look, we clearly are a little bit weak in midfield, but a striker's a priority, which is why I'm dismissing a lot of this stuff. Do I believe we had scouts there? Yes. Do I believe that almost every top club in Europe had scouts there? Of course. He's Sporting Lisbon against Benfica. It's a big game. It's a feisty encounter. They all have a lot of good players. So, yeah, look, I'm not going to read too much into it. I'm not going to get the... do you remember my truthometer? I called it the poppycockometer. I'm not sure we'll get that out just yet, but there's already enough transfer rumours around at the moment. That's for sure. Let's deal with this Will Still and Xabi Alonso stuff. Let's deal with that in order. Okay, so Will Still is the manager of Stade de Reims. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. He was at the Nottingham Forest game. He was at the London Stadium. He was spotted there. And a lot's been made of it as well. And I can understand why a lot's been made of it. Of course, you may remember we featured him on this channel last season. Did a little bit of research because there was this great story, wasn't it? He'd been on TalkSport. He was being mooted as the guy that had learnt to manage on Championship Manager or on Football Manager or whatever it is. Now, when you scratch below the surface, there's a little bit more to the story of that. Of course, I say West Ham fan. Now, his story was actually a little bit more interesting because he started his coaching career very, very young. He's only a young lad. And he actually started at Preston, started to do his badges at Preston, worked in Belgium, worked in Holland as well, if I remember correctly. And he got promoted. He got promoted above his station, truth be known, before he had all his badges. And he did rather well. So actually, he was working on a sort of temporary certificate, a temporary license, if you like. And anyways, he's done his badges now. He performed really well at Stade de Reims last season, and I think a lot of people thought he might be a flash in the pan. I can understand why, but he did really, really well. But he got a few players in on loan last season, and he did so well with... Do you remember we were linked with that striker, Florian Balogun? Now, he was a young player who was at Arsenal. Will Still got him on loan last season, scored loads of goals, was one of the top scorers in France last season. And he was on loan anyway. He went back to Arsenal, of course. Was was sort of banded around Europe for lots and lots of money, wasn't he? But it wasn't the only player that Will still lost last season. So a lot of these loan players went back to their parent clubs. So I think a lot of people thought, well, he's not going to do that again. He's going to struggle. Well, he's not struggling. They're in fifth. Okay, they took a 3-0 loss to Paris Saint-Germain in their last game. Aside from that, they were doing very, very well. Fifth in the league is not bad at all. They do not have anything like the budget of the people that they're competing against. So I don't know. Is there anything in this? I'm not sure, but we're now seeing a bigger body of work from him rather than just this thing last season. He's now starting to build a CV. So that's really interesting. What I would say is, I don't think he doesn't seem like the guy that would purposely attend West Ham and try and be pictured and be seen to undermine the manager, David Moyes. I think even West Ham are probably too sensible to, and probably not that crass that they would invite him to a game. Yeah, you know what? Perhaps he's just a West Ham fan and he went to watch a game of football where he was back. He's English, by the way. I should probably say that. He's English. A multilingual, but very, very impressive young man, actually. So maybe there's some truth in that. The Xabi Alonso stuff I do want to talk about as well, because there's a lot of suggestion that West Ham might be interested in Xabi Alonso, might want to get Xabi Alonso. For those of you that don't know, Tim Steidten was the director of football at Bayer Leverkusen last season. It was actually Steidten who appointed Xabi Alonso, who identified him as this guy's a promising young manager. Look, I think we've missed the boat on him. It's as simple as that. Sometimes we often say on Hammers Chat that if you don't buy a player now, you're not going to get him. Now's the time to get him. We said it with Cole Palmer. Now's the time to get him. If we can't get him now, we'll miss the opportunity. We actually said it with Kudus, and in Kudus we did get him. You have to get Kudus from Ajax. What you don't do is once he goes to the bigger club, then get him, because he's no longer 35 million. He's 70, 80 million, and he just wants to move to a Champions League club. I think if we'd have really wanted Xabi Alonso, it would have had to have been midway through last season. I don't think you get him now. I have. Do you know what? I haven't looked at the Bundesliga for the past week, but last time I did look, they were top of the Bundesliga still by Leverkusen. They've the top scorers. They're scoring goals for fun. He's definitely one of the most promising managers in world football, and obviously he's played for some big clubs. He played for Liverpool. You remember him? He scored a couple of goals from the halfway line, didn't he? Really fine player, excellent player, and obviously played for Real Madrid, played for Bayern Munich as well. So, some of those, if those clubs come knocking, and apparently he has it written into his contract that he can leave if any of those clubs come in, then that's the case. And do you know what? The other thing is, I think it was Hammers News broke the story quite possibly yesterday, and they said that he had a £13 million buyout clause. So look, forget it. But I just don't think we're going to get him for all of those reasons. No, West Ham will not pay a severance fee to a club of 13 million. And I can't imagine there's going to be an awful lot of appetite at Leverkusen. Bearing in mind we absolutely poached their director of football. They're not going to want to let anyone else go to us, and certainly not on the cheap. They're not going to be doing us any favours, certainly not going to be doing Tim Steidten any favours, are they? So I think we missed the boat. But it's okay. I saw some people yesterday, quite sort of downbeat about that. I see positives in it. I've said it before. The very fact that Tim Steidten has identified Alonso in the first place probably means he's quite good at identifying managers. So that's really good. We know he can identify players, and let's be fair, as a director of football, he's not just been brought in to identify players and recruit them. He has been brought in to oversee the next managerial appointment. So, you know what, even if it's not Alonso, what's to say that the next guy isn't just as talented? He may well be. And also, we don't know the ins and outs of it. Alonso may not have even been his first choice to come in at Leverkusen. I really don't know. I'm speculating here. One thing I am quite certain of is that Tim Steidten has got a list of 3 or 4 managers who is probably looking to bring in as West Ham's next boss. Whether or not that's Will still, I don't know. And let's be honest, we still have a manager in place at the moment, and that's David Moyes. We all suspect, because of the leaks from the club, that he's not going to get a new deal. So I guess it's a case of watch this space. I still do believe that David Moyes' future is still in his own hands. If he can, put a run together, then he may well get offered a new deal. I know the rumour is that he won't, but I still feel that David Moyes can make it very, very difficult for the club not to offer him a new one. I think he would need to win another trophy, need to get us back in Europe. But I'd be very, very, if he did that, it'd be very hard not to give him a new deal, that's for sure. But someone's got to. If we mentioned that the gift of Danny Ings. That happened. He needs a gift, and he needs a proper gift, another one this Christmas. And hopefully Father Christmas brings him a striker that fits his system. So that should be good. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was Nigel Gerd. Nigel Gerd got a concussion. As you know, he was down. He was down for a long, long time, wasn't he, against Nottingham Forest? And yeah, was quite worrying actually. He was down for such a long time. Obviously, look, he got up and he appears to be fine now. As I understand it, he was due to play in international football during this international break, but I believe they may have had a game against Tunisia. I might be wrong. But that might have been cancelled. So possibly he's not got a call up. If it is concussion, he's going to have to observe concussion protocols anyway, which are quite rightly put in place to stop, the footballers get dementia and all that stuff later on in life. So you've got this secondary impact syndrome, and the concussion protocols are in place to stop that sort of nasty stuff happening. So it may well be that the international break has come at exactly the right time for Nigel Gerd. But yeah, we wish him well. But it is understood that news from the club, it is touch and go whether or not he will even be fit for West Ham's next game, which is I think it's Burnley, isn't it? There's some stuff on Lucas Paquetá and the betting. In honesty, I don't want to touch on it at the moment until I understand a little bit more. I think it's easy, sit on YouTube. It's easy to get some of this stuff wrong, isn't it? So I don't understand. Look, the investigation is ongoing, as I understand it. There's been, I wouldn't call it some mitigation. I think there's been some people suggesting that that's been, not a defence. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much. But there were some rumours circulating yesterday that Man City might rekindle their interest in Lucas Paquetá in January. Does that indicate now that people are a little bit more sure that he might be found innocent? I don't want to know. I don't want to lead you to the wrong conclusion anyway. So I'm just letting you know in case, because people do sometimes write in the comments, "El Gonzi didn't mention this, that, or the other." I know. I've read the stuff, Paquetá stuff. I just think there's so much ambiguity there. There's so much grey area that. What do we know? Look, it's a weird one for a West Ham fan. Let's be fair. You don't want the lad to get in trouble, but you also don't want him to move to Man City or move anywhere else. So you got this sort of halfway house at the moment where, and it's not a nice thing to do, but as a West Ham fan, you almost want the investigation to just carry on without them finding any evidence, but without them concluding it. So nobody comes in and buys him, but. Selfish, I know, but I'm just really enjoying him playing for West Ham at the moment, and he's so good. If he did clear his name, then I'm pretty sure he'd be off at the next available opportunity. Because I really do. I think he could play for almost any team I say almost any team in the world. I mean, unless they've got a player already of comparable standard in his position. But I don't think he would look out of place playing for Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, whoever it is. I think you drop him into that team, and I don't think he looks out of place at all. That's how highly I rate him. So I don't know, many of you obviously share that opinion. Right, anyway, there you go. Those are the news, the gossip, more gossip than news. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.